Example 6, bone density test, finding a z-score using StatCrunch. Now, scores of a bone density test are normally distributed with a mean of 0 and a standard deviation of 1. So they meet the requirements of a standard normal distribution. We want to find the bone density score corresponding to the 95th percentile. And that is, find the bone density score that separates the bottom 95% from the top 5%. So the first thing we want to do is draw a bell-shaped curve and identify the region under the curve that corresponds to 95%, which is equal to 0.95. Now, if that region is not a cumulative region from the left, then we work instead with a known region that is a cumulative region from the left. So again, the first thing we want to do is draw your bell curve. So again, you want to get in the habit of drawing the bell curve. Okay, so now we do know that we have a mean of 0 and it has a standard deviation of 1. Now, when we think about 95%, that means that we're going to be shading almost 95% of this curve. So I'm going to go ahead and then draw a line over here, and then we're going to shade in everything from the left, because everything from the left is now going to be 95% or 0.95. So let's go ahead and do that. So again, you want to make sure that you're understanding by drawing a picture to see what's going on here. So we can say that this area in the blue there represents the area of 0.95, okay, or 0.9500. Okay, now if we take a look at the area that's to the right of this, okay, this area, that represents the top 5%. So 5% is the same thing as 0.05, and that's 0, 0. And what we are interested in is finding out what is that z-score. So we're looking for the z-score that's associated with that. So what we want to do is we're going to use StatCrunch. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and follow these instructions. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and open up in StatCrunch. So now that we open up in StatCrunch, we're going to click Stat. We're going to select Calculators, and then scroll all the way down to where it says Normal. And then in the calculator box, we want to make sure that the mean is 0 and the standard deviation is 1. Okay, now since we are looking for the z-score, okay, we are locating the bottom right-hand box after the equal sign. And so we want to enter the area for 0.9500. So we're going to go ahead and put that 0.9500. Now before we select Compute, okay, we want to find the area that's to the left of that, because that is the area here is to the left of 0.9500. So when you select Compute, you're going to see what we get for our value. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this. And then you can see that this graph also represents the one that we have drawn. Right? So you can see that this graph looks very similar to this one. And so now we want to find out what is that value here that we have for our z-score. Well, if you notice, okay, we're going to round that to 3 decimal places, and that's going to give us 1.645, and that represents our z-score. Now make sure, since we know it's to the right of 0, we know that it's a positive number, so you always want to make sure you check that as well. So again, we want the z-score that separates the bottom 95% and the top 5%, and StatCrunch provides the z-score of 1.645, rounding to 3 decimal places. We can now conclude that the z-score is 1.645, so the 95th percentile is z, which is equal to 1.645.